Hello and welcome to another episode of Brimo's Old Farts and Friends. I love my fart gun. Anyway, today's episode features Melissa Leister of Friends of Milo Foundation. And if you haven't heard of Friends of Milo Foundation, you should definitely look them up. You can follow them on Instagram and on Facebook. This is a wonderful little senior dog rescue here in the LA area. And she's done some amazing things in the short time that she's been in rescue, and I just appreciated the time to sit down and to get to talk to her. So enjoy this episode, guys, and I'm so glad you get to hear it. So I'm here at Teresa's here in Simi Valley, California with Melissa Leister.
Yes.
And she is going to tell me a little bit more about her rescue. So how did you come into animal welfare?
Back in 1990, I had rescued my first kitten and took her to the vet and just had the notion, this looks like a cool job. I think I would like to do this. And within a few months, I started rescuing more cats and becoming much more interested in just taking care of them and learning how to take care of them. And I got offered a job there. And I couldn't believe they were going to pay me, and I didn't have any experience. And that was the start of it all. And I absolutely fell in love with veterinary medicine and realized as I was learning in the veterinary field that I was drawn towards those animals that required the most care, those that were the sickest, the handicapped, the real underdogs. That was what I enjoyed doing most. And after a few years, I ended up working in internal medicine and learning a lot about disease processes and how to treat everything, and obviously seeing a lot of senior animals doing that, and continue to rescue and try to adopt out. I did a lot of cats at the time, and I've been in veterinary medicine for 28 years, and I'm an RVT now, and I, for the last 7 years, work specifically in oncology in West LA, and I just got my nonprofit in 2016 and wanted Friends of Milo Foundation to focus mostly on senior and animals with special needs, regardless of what they might be. So far, we mainly just do smaller dogs, as the need for foster homes is so great and hard to find. So I don't have any current fosters for large breed dogs, but eventually that would be the plan also, to be able to do those guys too.
So what's the story behind Friends of Milo and how it all got started?
Friends of Milo, because I was rescuing on my own out of pocket, and racked up some crazy veterinary bills. Being that I work in specialty medicine, I have a firm belief in doing the best medicine that is available for the animals. And so the doctors that I work for really encouraged me to try to get my nonprofit, and it always seemed like such a big, daunting thing. Like, I thought it costs a ton of money, it's really hard to do, a lot of red tape, and it really was not. So anybody who is considering doing that, I highly recommend it, because it changed everything. All of the animals' care is funded by donations. I've met so many amazing people and gotten so much support. It's been really, truly overwhelming. And I knew nothing about running a nonprofit when I started. So we named the rescue Friends of Milo Foundation after a very special dog that my husband and I rescued back in 2002. It just kind of started from there. Once I had the nonprofit, I started learning about fundraising, which is not always easy. But it has allowed me to help so many more animals than I was trying to do it on my own.
So can you tell me the story of Milo?
Yes. Milo's story is kind of funny. So at the time, I think I had maybe 3 dogs, and we were living in Encino, and I had rescued this very tiny puppy from the emergency in Studio City. I'm not sure what was wrong with her, but she had something really bad going on, and she died. And I was heartbroken, and I just wanted a really tiny Chihuahua, the super tiny 2-3 pound. That's what I wanted. So I set out on a search looking for it, and I come across someone from another rescue who told me about a dog that they had that was 2 pounds. And they said, well, let us tell you honestly that he is a biter. And I'm like, whatever, biter, who cares? 2 pounds, what's the big deal? So I agreed to go meet them at the vet clinic where the dog is being housed. He had been rescued from the West Valley shelter. And I get there, and the lady has all the paperwork, and I pay, and I haven't even seen the dog, but I'm agreeable, so I totally pay. And I brought a carrier, and they bring the dog out, and the whole carrier's rattling as they walk up. The dog is trembling, and I look, and it's not a 2 pound Chihuahua, but 7-8 pound, some kind of mixed breed dog. And I'm like, oh. And but I didn't have the heart to say no, because the dog was clearly terrified. No one was going to take him. And so I take the dog, but I'm feeling sad because it's not what I was looking for at the time at all. And so I get in, I'm walking out, and the receptionist goes, ma'am, you can't touch this dog at all. And I'm like, okay. So I get in the car, and I look at the dog, and I'm like, hi. And he's like, and I was like, So I drive home, and I'm getting out of the car. My husband's like, did you get him? I'm like, I got something. And he's like, oh, he's cute. And I'm like, eh. So I go to work, and the doctors, everyone knew I was really excited. So they're like, oh, did you get him? I'm like, well, got him. And they're like, why'd you take the dog if it's not what you were looking for? And I was like, I just didn't have the heart to say no. This dog is terrified. He's clearly had a rough road, So they were not kidding. There was no touching him. And so I set him up in a big cage at work with a carrier, and he would go in the carrier. I couldn't even walk him. He would go in the carrier when I cleaned the cage. He would take food from me. I would sit there with hot dogs and all kinds of stuff. He would happily take that, but if I held my finger up without food, he would show me his teeth. And after a few days, I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to help this dog. I was really starting to stress out about it. And on day 5, we were working, and he barked. And I'm like, oh, is that my dog? And I went in there, and he was standing in the front of the cage like, I'm ready to come out. And I opened it, and he came out, and I put a leash on him, and we walked outside. And while we were out there, I just picked him up. And I was scared to move. I came inside. I'm like, look. And I took him home that day, and he bit my husband within the first 10 minutes. And he hated most people for most of his life, but he loved us, and winning his love was such a big deal that we just loved him so much. And people would come over. I mean, he put holes in people's shirts before, and he would come up and sit on your lap, and I'd be like, don't touch him. My sister would visit, and she'd be sitting there like this, and he'd be on her lap. But he was very special. He died just about 3 years ago, just before we started the rescue. And so because he truly is the epitome of a special needs dog, somebody abused him. His response was so abnormal. I went ahead and wanted to include his name in the name of the rescue.
Absolutely. That's such an amazing story. Coming from someone that's also worked with special needs dogs and seeing them in the shelters and stuff, they don't do as well. People aren't prone to want to adopt them first off the back when they hear that, this dog has got some special needs, whether it's separation anxiety or whether it's, like you said, they can't be handled certain ways and things like that. It's definitely hard to place them in homes like that.
Absolutely.
So that was a wonderful thing that you did for Milo.
It was wonderful for me too. And that's the thing is I wish that more people could see beyond either the age. I mean, the age is really just a number in so many cases because so many of these dogs have years left to give, and they're wonderful dogs. And I think when people say, like Potato, he's 10, they think, well, he won't live a lot longer. He probably has something wrong with him. But it's just not the case. And there's been so many dogs that I have rescued, whether they lived, 6 years or 6 months or 6 weeks. I was glad to know them, And so I think if more people could get past some of those things, I think they would be very rewarded. I know I have been.
Absolutely. I feel the same way. I have 6 dogs altogether, 3 boys and 3 girls, and all of them, I guess, are considered seniors because now they're over the age of 7.
Sure.
So, like I was telling you earlier, I have a 14-year-old named Sunny, and he's the oldest one that was at the Downey shelter at the time, and my wife and I really weren't looking to adopt another dog because we already had 2 at the time. And there was just something about him, and I felt drawn to him. And my wife reluctantly was like, okay, fine, we'll adopt this dog. And now he's her little shadow. He literally follows her all around the house, everywhere she goes. That. And she is so in love with him now. And I'm just like, I told you. And she was like, I know.
We have had that happen at our house quite a bit, too. Everyone, it seems like any time over the years, because I've been married for 18 years, and any time over the years that my husband would be like, no, we don't need any more dogs. Like way before I even started Friends of Milo, I was obviously always trying to bring someone home. And anytime he tried to oppose it, that dog ended up loving him more than anything and being his shadow. It happens all the time.
That's hilarious. That's awesome. I love that so much. And I think senior dogs and dogs with special needs are just so special in general. I share your vision as well, and I share what you're trying to do as well, because I think, they turn out to be the best dogs sometimes.
For me, like I said, every time I lose one, rather than, it's always sad and my heart is broken, but I'm so glad I knew them. So I'm grateful for that. So I think more people, I think more people would be if they gave it a chance.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you 100% on that aspect. And I know with running your own rescue and especially saving seniors and dogs with special needs that you run into a bunch of challenges, I'm sure.
Yes.
So what would you say are some of your biggest challenges in all of this?
The biggest challenges for me are finding fosters, and obviously raising enough funds to pay for everything and not have to worry about where the next money is going to come from. And like I said, I have been so pleasantly surprised. I really didn't know anything about fundraising at all when I started, and it's really just been a work in progress, and I learned from other people, and so many people, I started when I put my Facebook page up, it was brand new, nobody knew me. I have I think over 1,500 followers now, which isn't a ton as far as that goes, but it's a lot. It's grown a lot in just the couple of years I've been doing it. So I think, that's the biggest challenge. And I think there's other things that I can do. The problem is bringing money in regularly. Yes. Like a certain dog might prompt a lot of donations. I find, people obviously donate most to the neediest cases usually. And people have been absolutely wonderful to me, and I'm grateful for every $5 that someone donates. And I think it's important that people realize that $5 adds up if a lot of people give it, So that's the biggest challenge, is keeping the money coming regularly to support the medical care, the food, and everything that they need. It's very expensive, and that's probably the biggest thing, and finding great people to foster. Because we could save more dogs with more fosters, and I think every rescue could. And that's one of the things that I see every rescue on Facebook begging for fosters.
What do you think people should know about fostering, and do you think it's easier than people think it is? Do you think people are just in their head too much, oh, I don't think I could foster a dog, there's too many stipulations, or...
I don't think there's there's not a lot. You have to basically, in order to foster a dog, it's the same criteria if you wanted to adopt a dog. I think fostering is hard, to be honest with you, because I'm not good at it. It's very hard. Every one of these dogs that I foster, I've got a big lump in my throat when I find them a home and it's time for them to go. I think that it's hard to take care of a dog, become attached to it, and give it up. But for those people who can see that they are saving so many lives by doing that, and that's, fosters are invaluable. Fosters are what allows us to save lives. We can only take as many as we can take, and without the fosters, there's nowhere for the dogs to go. We're not all blessed with having a facility that, can house the dogs. That would be our dream, obviously. But fostering is a huge part of it. So definitely we would love more fosters. And all that it requires is same as if you wanted to adopt, an application, quick home check, and take care of them and be able to take them to a vet appointment or bring them to adoptions. It's not that hard. It's just, I think the hardest thing is letting them go.
Yeah, being attached, because I know in the rescue industry you see a lot of what we call foster fails, where people end up actually adopting the foster dog.
That's always great too, but my foster Catherine, she fosters several, she'll foster 3 or 4 dogs for us at a time, and she's very good about being able to accept that they go and they're going into a good home, and now she can take another one, and that's what saves lives.
That's amazing. Now, on the lines of fostering, I know this is kind of a little bit of a sad subject, but do you also do what's called hospice care?
Yes. I would love that, to have more people who are willing to do that. That is even harder to find, because I know that's what I do for a lot of the dogs that I rescue. The small, very old seniors who require a lot of medical care. Because I'm an RVT in a specialty hospital, I will generally take care of a lot of those guys myself, and I know they're going to die pretty soon. So as I said, for me, that is rewarding, but it is hard to find folks who want to let that into their lives as well. And again, all I can tell you is that it is so rewarding. And I'm always happy at the end that I had the opportunity to care for them.
Absolutely. And I see it also as, yes, it's the end of their life, but the quality of the end of their life might have been the best quality they've had for their entire life.
That's so often the case with many of these dogs. So many of the seniors that I pull out of the shelter have clearly lived a life of neglect. And, maybe it wasn't the worst, but it wasn't the best, and they weren't getting good medical care, and they weren't spayed or neutered, and so many of the female dogs have mammary masses, and these are all things that we try to take care of all those things do whatever is reasonable and good quality medical care and make them comfortable and loved. And they go out, when they leave this life, they go out with somebody who loves them and in a nice, peaceful manner.
That's wonderful to hear, and I really love that you're doing that and that you're touching so many dogs' lives. I know you're a smaller rescue, but you're still making a difference here in the LA area, because there aren't a lot of senior-specific rescues or rescues that specifically take those special needs dogs. I don't know, whatever reasons they have, maybe they aren't as experienced with seniors. I know you have medical history, so that definitely helps a lot.
My background in veterinary medicine definitely makes this easier, and I am so lucky to have wonderful veterinarians and veterinary specialists on my team to help me with a lot of these things. I don't think all rescues have that benefit, obviously, so that part does make it a little bit easier for me to care for these special needs medical dogs.
Absolutely. I don't come from veterinary background. My background is mostly just in animal care itself. Sure. So some of this stuff I wouldn't even know what I was doing. And when I do start my rescue, when I get to that point, I'm going to have to do a lot of research, I'm sure, or just partner with.
But as long as you have a good veterinarian, you don't necessarily have to, and you will learn like basic medical things that need to be done for everybody and how to spot certain things. You'll learn it.
That's good. That's good to know, because that's definitely one aspect that scares me a little bit. Not enough to stop me, of course, but just like, okay, I wish I knew a little bit more about medical type stuff. Really, growing up, I thought I was going to be a vet as a little kid, but I just went a completely different route with that. I went away from the medical type stuff because I was like, I don't really like blood and all this stuff.
I love veterinary medicine, and if I could go back and be college age again, I probably would have become a veterinarian, but I didn't know at the time that that's what I would have liked to do. So I have made the most of my veterinary career, and I'm happy with what I've achieved as far as that goes. And I like working in oncology and with patients at end of life and helping the clients and the patients at the end of their life. So
that's amazing, and I know that's difficult as well, like having to work in the oncology, having to see them go through all the treatments and things that goes into that. So I applaud you for that, for being able to do that.
It is very rewarding in itself. There are days that are real tough, and saying goodbye to our patients is hard, but it's important for them to have that support at the end of their life, both for the client and the dog. So
when it comes to dogs that you're thinking about pulling from the shelter, do you have like certain criteria, or how do you pick a dog, or is it just like word of mouth, or?
It kind of goes on there's some dogs that I see and I'm like, oh my God, we absolutely have to help this dog. And I think all rescues probably have that. Otherwise, it is what dog can go into what foster home, what kind of dog or personality or age or temperament that they have room for. That would be the only thing. Otherwise, I just try to help dogs who really need help. And whether they can be adopted out or they have to be in permanent foster care, then we just kind of go with what we have going on at the time, what room we have.
Was it hard for you to like build a relationship with these shelters to be able to pool, or is it kind of an easy process?
I find, to be honest, the getting pull rights at certain shelters is a little bit difficult, and I actually the best shelter to me to work with is Ventura County, and they are amazing. They have an amazing staff of people. They are a pleasure to work with. And I did recently just get poll rights at Riverside County, and they also have a very good system in place for working with rescues. I get an email about 4 times a day with a list of animals who urgently need to be pulled. And they have a code where they mark them red, green, or yellow. So the red ones are on the list for euthanasia. Yellow and green are... It's a good system, and I find them very easy to, if you call and you want to know the medical information on an animal, you get someone on the phone, and it's so far I've been pleased with them. LA, I don't have pull rights currently at LA County or LA City. There is a little more paperwork involved that, so a lot of times if we pull a dog from those, another rescue who has pull rights might pull it and transfer it, and you just sign a release to transfer. So we do that sometimes.
So it's definitely important not just to make those relationships with the shelters themselves, but actual other rescues in the area as well.
I personally think that everybody working together is a real big important part of it. And unfortunately in rescue there is a lot of drama, and I just don't take part in any of that. I try to support other rescues whenever and however I can, and I have met some wonderful rescues who have supported me also. And I'm like, there's certain rescues around LA that I'm just in awe of what they do, and would love to be able to do more like them. So I try to positively support other rescues when possible, and I appreciate it when they do the same.
Yeah, I think it is important for everyone to kind of work together, because it's all really is the same common goal, save as many lives as absolutely possible, and of course, place them in homes at the end of all of that stuff. So I find it great that you actually do work with other rescues and support them, and some of them support you as well.
Yes.
Definitely very important. So where do you see Friends of Milo kind of going into the future? Like, what's your vision for the rescue?
I would like to, my dream would be to have a place where we could house animals, have people come adopt there. That would be my dream. I don't know that will ever happen. That would require a ton of money. But I would like to grow a little bit in the sense of getting more fosters, more funding, be able to save more dogs. But if I can only save a handful of dogs at a time, I'm still happy with that.
And I think that's great that you're even doing this, saving as many as you are right now, because I'm sure, do you know how many you've saved?
I don't. I have not actually counted, but I think it's a pretty good number for the size of rescue that we have and the amount of money that we're able to generate.
Yeah, absolutely. And any number is better than zero. So the fact that you're even able to go out there and do that is just amazing and wonderful. Hello, she's saying hi. One of the dogs is saying hi. That's really cute. Thank you so much for even, spending the time with me today and telling me a little bit more about your story and all that. I really do appreciate it. Is there anything else you want people to kind of know about, like, senior dogs, or why they should consider adopting a senior dog specifically?
Like I said, I just think it's so rewarding to take a dog who has not had a particularly nice life or the best care, who is going to be overlooked for the cute puppy next to it, and give that dog an amazing life for however long it may be. I think that if more people were open to it, they would be so glad they did. And I can only speak from my experience, but I wouldn't change a thing about any of the dogs that I've had. I feel blessed to have had that opportunity, and I think more people would also.
I completely 100% agree with you. Having adopted seniors myself and seeing how wonderful they are and how much I love them and they love me, it's such a beautiful relationship to be able to do that with a dog. Like we said before, may not have had the best start in life, but the end of their life is going to be so much better.
And sometimes you find these incredible little personalities, in some of these little old dogs that who knew, I just, like I said, I am crazy about them, and I hope to be able to do it for a long time to come still.
That's wonderful. So if people wanted to support you, where could they go to donate or to apply to be a foster or anything like that?
On our website, which is friendsofmilofoundation.org, there is an application, or you can email us at my email is on there as well. PayPal is the easy way to donate. We have a mailing address, P.O. Box. All of that information is on our website. And following us on Facebook and Instagram is awesome because you get to see all the dogs that we rescue and their stories and when they get adopted or, whatever happens with them. So,
yeah, and then pretty much every Sunday they can find you here at Teresa's Feed Store in Simi Valley as well.
We do most Sundays here at Teresa's. It's an awesome store, and we've met some fabulous homes here for our dogs. So that is where we are on Sundays.
Awesome. Thank you again so much for your time, Melissa. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks so much.